At that moment, Kim Shin floated in the air. He wanted to use this eye-to-eye stare, hoping she would recognize him and regain control of her body. However, Hyo-ju slowly brought her hands together as if she was trying to reach out and grabbed Kim Shin tenderly. But that was just a guess. Kim Shin's gaze quickly detected the hidden danger. Hyo-ju's face was filled with excitement as her hands locked together, raising them to prepare a deadly blow to Kim Shin's head. Sensing the killing intent radiating from Hyo-ju, General Gao, and Myungju's faces filled with fear as they shouted loudly, "Kim Shin, be careful! It's dangerous!" The lethal strike was almost within reach. Kim Shin had no choice but to use his spatial jump to avoid it. Hyo-ju still didn't recognize her boyfriend and launched a powerful punch. At that moment, her mind was consumed with a single thought: blow away all the creatures in front of me. The force of the punch tore through the air, blowing away the top half of the surrounding buildings. After delivering the attack, she stood there, confused, looking around as she realized the target was nowhere to be found. It felt like she had just struck at thin air. Both of them were left wide-eyed, mouths open in shock. General Gao wondered, did he actually dodge that deadly blow? Myungju added, but where did Kim Shin go? At that moment, in a soft, pure white space that was completely sealed, Kim Shin found himself unexpectedly blushing. Xiao Min'er spoke up. A Hamlin fight like that really isn't ideal. But, Kim Shin, where are you hiding? The voice came from a crack in the mountain on Hyo-ju's body. Kim Shin immediately shouted, "Can you be quiet for once?" Hyo-ju heard a sound near her, but couldn't spot anyone. She started scanning the area, looking around. Suddenly, a crack appeared, making Xiao Min'er jump in surprise. Panicking, she called out, "Kim Shin, look! What's going on here?" As Hyo-ju's body seemed to reach his breaking point, unable to expand any further, Kim Shin felt a wave of unease. He quickly used a space jump to escape outside. At that moment, Hyo-ju was reaching her limit, her eyes glowing brighter than headlights, roaring relentlessly. Cracks appeared all over her body, and a surge of power began to escape. General Gao and Myungju were both shocked, wondering, what's going on? Could it really be? Kim Shin realized that Hyo-ju's body couldn't take it anymore. Her eyes were wide, her posture was gentle, but the roar coming from her sounded like she was about to transform into a Super Saiyan from Dragon Ball. But in this case, if she transformed, she'd be done for. Deep within her soul, she recalled fragments of memories. Asterisk gets so cold. Every time I open my eyes, it's just endless darkness. I've lost count of how many times I've woken up in despair, and how many times I've laid on that cold operating table. How many times the needle has pierced my skin. Asterisk. In this apocalyptic world, she was just a lab rat in someone else's experiment. If there is a God, please help me. I am willing to give everything to get a chance to be freed. As she was about to close her eyes, ready to give up on life, a familiar, loud voice suddenly called out, "Hyo-ju," making her open her eyes in surprise and wonder. Asterisk, could it be a god? Asterisk. Back to the present, Kim Shin said, "I tried everything, but now I'm left with no choice but to use my last move." He jumped down to her back, shouting, "Don't you remember? I don't need useless people around me." Kim Shin's hand instantly stretched out, his 5 fingers splay wide. With that, Kim Shin used his powers, swinging his hand and shouting loudly, "Wake up right now!" A loud sound echoed. Kim Shin delivered a powerful slap straight to Hyo-ju's behind. The pain was so intense that Hyo-ju wanted to scream out, "Mom, help me." She never expected it to feel so real. Myungju, witnessing the somewhat suggestive scene, flushed and found himself feeling oddly pleased as well. Kim Shin, even now. Hyo-ju cried out in pain, a mix of agony and excitement that brought back a familiar sensation. It all came rushing back. From the first time she met that man, he had always appeared by her side whenever she was in despair, because he was like a ray of light cutting through all the darkness in her heart. For him, she was willing to change everything, starting from that first meeting in the bar. Its kindness, gentle and thoughtful, had moved her deeply. Then, even when the apocalypse came, fate brought her to Kim Shin once again. At that very moment, when I was freed from the darkness, my heart couldn't hold back, and we kissed passionately. Living beside him after that made me feel like I had found happiness, a strange kind of peace, even in the midst of the apocalypse. Even when he tortured me, it never faded from my mind. Kim Shin's face suddenly grew serious, when it seemed like there was no hope left. A blinding light spread across the entire area. Everyone only knew one thing. Hyo-ju was about to self-detonate. The roar reached its peak, followed by a massive explosion. Golden beams of light filled the sky. General Gao struggled to keep his eyes open, wondering is it over? But when he looked around, he was stunned. Kim Shin and Hyo-ju were gone. At that moment, the only people left at the scene were their group. No one else could be seen. Looking up at the glittering golden rays in the sky, they were beautiful, but the people were no longer there. Myungju collapsed to the ground, tears streaming down her face, soaking her eyelashes. Those two, could it be that they're really okay? I still have so much to say to Kim Shin, and even Hyo-ju. She just saved me, and now I don't even have time to thank her. Suddenly, General Gao looked up, his face filled with shock as he shouted loudly, "Look up there!" Myungju raised her head. From the sky, Kim Shin was still alive and well, having saved Hyo-ju's life. General Gao spoke up again. "It's Kim Shin. This is great. So, he's really okay after all." Kim Shin still had some lingering energy from his powers not fully faded. Hyo-ju, on the other hand, was covered in scratches from head to toe. Seeing this, General Gao was still worried. Hyo-ju is seriously injured, he said, ordering the young soldiers around. "Get her to the hospital now. Start treatment immediately." Suddenly, a figure appeared, gliding across the sky, calling out loudly, "Wait, hold on. Duan Ye and Huang Jum are coming." She spoke up. "It should be me. This is the first time I'm meeting Huang Jum." General Gao, surprised, let out a small exclamation. "This cat is really huge." When his first wife walked over, Kim Shin called out twice, "Duan Ye," hoping that she would find a way to save Hyo-ju. Looking at the injuries on her body, Duan Ye quickly said, "Her wounds are very serious. She could die at any moment. We should get her back to the base first." After a while, the sound of water flowing could be heard. Kim Shin carefully picked up Hyo-ju and placed her in the bathtub. Both of them were now in the tub, but Kim Shin felt something was off and asked, "Wait, did you add something to the water?" On the other side, Duan Ye was changing her clothes. She explained, "Normal surgical treatments don't work on these kinds of wounds, so I added some evolutionary recovery medicine to the water." He was surprised. "I see. No wonder." She added, "Check if Hyo-ju's wounds are healing, but from what I can see, there hasn't been any change." He seemed confused. "Healing? I don't feel anything." She was stunned and gasped, "That's impossible. I've improved this recovery potion so many times." Kim Shin seemed to realize and said, "Could it be that this kind of injury can only be healed using special abilities?" Duan Ye thought for a moment, agreeing with him. It made sense. So, what should they do now? Suddenly, her eyes widened in surprise, and she managed to exclaim, "Ah!" At that moment, Kim Shin quickly kissed the injury on Hyo-ju's forehead. Within just a few seconds, the cracks disappeared instantly. Even Kim Shin was surprised that he could do this. It seemed like it worked. Duan Ye's cheeks flushed with embarrassment. She quickly turned away, ready to leave, and said, "That's great. As for the other injuries, I'll leave them to you." Kim Shin held her in his arms, but his face was dazed. It felt like there were so many cracks all over Hyo-ju's body that he had to kiss each one to heal her. This seemed like quite a lot. Outside, a loud voice called out, "Kim Shin, come quickly and see what I brought back." Duan Ye stepped out and answered for Kim Shin. As Kim Shin was healing Hyo-ju, Myungju was astonished and said, "He can even heal injuries?" Sung Woo added, "Then later, could you help me heal my injuries too?" Just imagining Kim Shin doing that with a man like Sung Woo, Duan Ye could only laugh and respond, "Ah, this isn't really the best thing to talk about." She quickly changed the subject. "Anyway, you two should really talk about this stone. What should we do with it?" Sung Woo said, "Do you remember the name of the leader of the Devourers? The one who loves to talk and enjoys mukbang? This is what I found among the remains after they left. At that time, this stone gave off a strange light, so I believe this is a spirit crystal." As soon as he finished speaking, his expression turned serious. Duan Ye gasped, "What? This is a spirit crystal." Sung Woo replied, "That's right. A spirit crystal this size, no one besides Kim Shin could handle the kind of power hidden within it." Duan Ye blushed and stammered, "Something this big for Kim Shin to absorb?" She looked at the enormous crystal core and suddenly felt weak all over. She understood it all too well. But Kim Shin, the side effects, before even Hyo-ju and I barely managed to handle him. But now, it's just me alone. I'm sure you all understand how brutal Kim Shin can be when affected by that crystal core, right? Myungju suddenly asked, looking concerned, "Is there anything I can help with?" Duan Ye paused to think. Help? How could she ever agree to something like that? She didn't want Myungju to get involved, but something felt off about her. Duan Ye's attention shifted to her awkward expression. Her sixth sense told her, could it be? Inside Kim Shin's building, Sung Woo stood there completely confused, not understanding why he had been kicked out. Duan Ye dismissed him politely. "Sung Woo, Myungju, and I need to talk. You should head back for now." The door slammed shut with a decisive thud. Both of them stood there still staring, unable to process what just happened. Inside, Duan felt uneasy. She really didn't want to share her beloved husband with another woman. But Kim Shin wouldn't stop growing stronger. That's why she needed someone to share Kim Shin's wild energy with. Seeing Duan acting a bit strange, Myung-ju couldn't help but ask confused, Duan, what's going on? Duan replied, Myung-ju, I need to confirm something with you. Do you like Kim Shin? Is that true? Myung-ju was caught off guard by the direct question and didn't know how to respond. A moment later in the room, Hyo-ju was still lost in her deep sleep, and Duan was helping take care of her younger sister. That's right, Sung-woo brought back a crystal. Kim Shin, hearing this, was surprised. A crystal? She responded, yeah, it's outside the living room. You should go check it out. Kim Shin wasn't just into beautiful women, he also had a thing for crystals. He said, all right, I'll leave Hyo-ju to you then. As he stepped out of the bedroom, he couldn't help but let out an amazed wow at what he saw. His thoughtful gaze immediately recognized that what was in front of him was no ordinary crystal. It was a dark stone. Could they really be thinking this was a crystal? He sighed, then got ready to throw a punch to increase the interaction. But it was hard to blame him. Back in his previous life, even after stepping into the workforce, he had only heard about such things and never had the chance to actually see them. Since the apocalypse, hundreds of strange things had started to appear. Although he was incredibly strong now, those punches still didn't have any real impact. He muttered, this black stone is extremely hard. It must be a rare material that was created during the apocalypse. Moreover, this black stone was connected to someone. Suddenly, a figure with unmatched power appeared in Kim Shin's mind. The Black Blade Wang Song, a legendary character from his previous life, who wielded a black blade and roamed freely during the apocalypse. I've heard that the black blade was made from black stone. He looked at what was in front of him and thought, it seemed his luck was pretty good this time. The opportunity of Wang Song was now his. First, he decided to store it in his space, and when he found a blacksmith, he could ask them to make him the black blade. Returning to the conversation earlier between Myung-ju and Duan, she shyly asked, why do you suddenly say that? Duan explained, after Kim Shin absorbs the core, a very powerful curse will form. In the past, Hyo-ju and I helped each other, but now with just one person, I'm afraid if it can't be handled, things might end up getting out of control. With each sentence, Myung-ju grew more curious and asked, what happens if it can't be handled? Duan replied, I don't know. All I know is that it must never come to that, but right now, Hyo-ju also needs my care. Myung-ju still didn't know exactly what the curse was, but she was eager to take action. She said, leave the curse to me. Duan tone grew serious. Things may not be as simple as you think. Please, just listen to me first. But Myung-ju, speaking quickly, said, it's fine. Whatever you need, I'll handle it. You can trust me. Now back to the present, Myung-ju was wearing a very seductive pair of fishnet stockings paired with a short maid-style dress. She mumbled to herself, although I said that in a hurry earlier, why do I have to wear clothes like this? And those strange things I said. Also, if I'm supposed to deal with the curse, it would be with Kim Shin. She felt a mix of hesitation and worry. Duan wouldn't trick me, would she? She stared at him intently from behind. However, Kim Shin was responsible for the safety of the entire base, so no matter what, the first priority was to figure out the curse situation. Has he absorbed the core already? Why can't I see it anymore? From here on, she would have to act based on the situation. She grabbed a bottle of wine and 2 glasses, then approached him, calling out hesitantly, Kim Shin, that. As he reflexively turned to face her, his expression froze in shock. Myung-ju was wearing a very sexy maid outfit, but her whole body was shaking, as if she was afraid he might turn her into a mukbang dish. She softly called out twice, Master. Kim Shin was taken aback and responded, huh? What? Master? In another room, Duan was beside Hyo-ju, taking care of her every need. She thought to herself, Myung-ju should be fine, right? The curse is the most logical explanation I can come up with. Besides, I've prepared so many things for her. No, I should have thought about how long she could actually endure this. She sighed heavily, her heart heavy with worry. Even her legs were trembling so much she could barely stand. I'll wait until Hyo-ju is more stable, then I'll go help her. Outside the base, voices rang out. It was hard enough to chase off those devourers, and now we have to clean up all these bodies. Are we ever going to get a break? Cut it out. If we leave these bodies here, do you realize how many people could die if a plague breaks out? Suddenly, a few of the younger men, their faces pale, spoke up. Boss, you should look over there. When they turned to look, the bodies of the devourers were gone. Panic swept through the group as they started frantically searching around. What's going on? Do the bodies have legs now? Did they get up and walk away? This side's the same. All the bodies are gone. It feels like something bad is happening. Inside the mental space, Xiao Min let out a confused ha. She blushed and thought to herself, this feeling, it's so good. I've been waiting for this. It's finally here. But wait, the distance is too far. I can't sense its exact location. Looks like I'll have to ask Kim Shin for help. Hearing the words forbidden master, along with the sound of wine being poured, Kim Shin couldn't help but feel confused and wonder, what kind of game is Myung-ju playing now? Looking at this girl who was always so serious and seemed like a leader, now dressed in a maid outfit, she looked incredibly strange. But she did look sexy, and with her shy expression, it actually seemed quite interesting. Myung-ju spoke up. Master, whatever you want to do next, I'm willing to do it all. I'm ready to give myself to you. As she said this, her face turned bright red. Kim Shin almost spat out the wine he had just taken a sip of. She quickly ran over, concerned, and asked, are you okay, Kim Shin? Kim Shin coughed and managed to say, I'm fine. It's just the wine. Cough, cough. Myung-ju shook her wine glass and offered to check. Could there be something wrong with the wine? Let me try. She then downed the entire glass in one go, without leaving a single drop. Kim Shin, watching her, was stunned and mumbled, she really has a strong tolerance for alcohol. Looking at the bottle of alcohol, he was shocked to see that it had a 64% alcohol content. Even he couldn't handle a single drop, yet Myung-ju was already drunk and starting to make a scene. I'm so drunk, she said. I just remember, this is the first time I've ever drunk alcohol. She slammed both her hands down onto the table. The feeling inside her was floating, and in one motion, she shoved the table away and shouted loudly, feeling great. You know, women get really uncomfortable when they're drunk. Kim Shin wondered, has she already gotten drunk this fast? Myung-ju was wild. She kicked the table hard, forcing Kim Shin to awkwardly move his legs out of the way. He looked at her confused, only able to react with a few surprised exclamations. With a little alcohol in her system, Myung-ju's wild side came out. She shouted at Kim Shin, you're talking nonsense. Her authority as the dominant one was clear, one hand on her hip and a proud look in her eyes. How could I possibly be drunk? The longer she stared at Kim Shin, the more intense her gaze became, as if she was about to corner him. She started to lean in closer, her hands slowly reaching up to caress him as she said, I also want to help you lift the curse. Kim Shin smirked and replied, oh, really? While there's no reason not to eat the food that's delivered right to the door, I don't like the feeling of suddenly having my position reversed. Then first, you need to understand the relationship between us. She paused, staring at him in confusion, and asked, the relationship between us? Suddenly, her eyes widened in shock. At that moment, Kim Shin exuded an overwhelming power that made anyone around him tremble with fear. He sternly asked, am I wrong? Do you forget who the master is? Myung-ju was so frightened that her mouth dropped open in shock, and she almost impulsively ordered Kim Shin to serve her. Realizing her mistake, she quickly dropped to her knees, her face now showing the expression of a submissive servant. Kim Shin's gaze was terrifying, his smile wicked as he asked her, have you come to your senses yet? Or should I punish you? Feeling that kneeling wasn't enough to show her sincerity, Myung-ju lay down, crawling toward him and calling out twice, Master. With a genuinely contrite expression, she said, I was wrong. I won't do it again next time. Kim Shin nodded and said, all right, if you know you've made a mistake. Suddenly, Kim Shin was confused as he felt himself being transported somewhere. He hadn't even given her a punishment yet. Kim Shin quickly realized this familiar feeling was the sensation of space shifting. Did I get pulled in here? He sighed, clearly frustrated. I was just getting to the exciting part, ready to have some fun. Why drag me in here now? He was greeted by Xiao Min. She rushed toward him as usual, shouting excitedly, Kim Shin, it's here. Finally, it's here. He was still confused and didn't understand what she meant. Haha, what are you talking about? Hoo-hoo-hoo. She was so happy that she nearly cried and threw her arms around him, but with her weight on him, he could barely breathe. She pressed down harder, speaking quickly. Kim Shin, you have to help me this time. You promised. Don't back out. Meanwhile, he, still being squeezed, felt a bit overwhelmed and asked, what? Can you explain? Xiao Viner shouted loudly, the body that's a perfect match for me has appeared. Kim Shin suddenly remembered, is it the body you asked me to find for you last time? If it's here, then why did you drag me all the way here? She surrounded him with a cocoon made from her hair, not letting him escape. She said, I can't sense its location, so I wanted to borrow your power while I have the chance. The cocoon quickly formed around them. Kim Shin, dissatisfied, questioned her, what's going on here? You're treating me like a signal booster, aren't you? The cocoon tightened around them in all directions. She responded almost exactly like that. If he wasn't a signal booster, then what was he? Kim Shin felt something was off and suddenly asked, Wait, is this the method you were talking about? Xiao Min'er smiled devilishly and answered with 2 words. Exactly. Kim Shin barely had time to shout. Hold on. Wait a minute. I'm not ready yet. The cocoon was then pushed up into the air by some force, only to crash back down onto the ground. It went up and down, back and forth, in a perfectly rhythmic motion. Xiao Min'er jumped up as if on top of a high peak and said, I can feel it now. Let's bring our spirits there. Suddenly, Kim Shin was tormented and teleported away at incredible speed. Before the two of them, a swarm of soul constructs was moving into the distance, and amidst them, the silhouette of a terrifying woman emerged. He stared in astonishment and asked himself, Is that an undead swarm? Xiao Min'er responded, That's exactly it. It's summoning the undead swarm. I remember that only a corpse king is supposed to be able to summon an undead swarm. He was taken aback. So what she was seeing, could that really be the physical body of the undead queen? Moreover, being this close to it, are we even safe? She reassured him with confidence. Don't worry, as long as we're in spiritual form and there's no major mental fluctuation, we'll be fine. Suddenly, a powerful shockwave of force crashed down on them, making both their eyes go wide in astonishment. Xiao Min'er asked in confusion, What just happened? Kim Shin blankly replied, Could it be that outside in reality, I was just sitting there motionless like a statue in Myeongju and I didn't respond to her calling and misunderstood something? Looks like the forbidden spell has been triggered. If that was the case, then she calmly approached him, placed her hands on his shoulders, and said gently, Master, let me help you lift the forbidden spell. Okay. Inside the zombie horde's domain, the undead queen immediately released a terrifying surge of power, shouting, Who is it? Show yourself now. Kim Shin and Xiao Min'er appeared, their faces serious. Once they realized their cover was blown, the beautiful Min'er spoke up. Have we been discovered? What should we do now? What is that woman doing anyway? Meanwhile, in the outside world, Nongju was using all of her strength to help Kim Shin break the forbidden spell, working with intense dedication. Back inside, the situation was critical. The undead queen charged toward them with an overwhelming force. Even Kim Shin, usually composed, couldn't hide his fear and shouted, Damn it, we're running out of time. The undead queen's face was cruel, her eyes glowing. She let out a deafening, spine-chilling growl. Then she opened her mouth wide, seemingly planning to devour both of them at once. Suddenly, Kim Shin was transported to another place, completely stunned. He woke up in the real world with a look of shock on his face. His quick, labored breathing made his family think that he had already died and turned into a corpse soldier. He frowned and rubbed his temples. What's going on? Why does my head hurt so much? Then a voice from Xiao Min'er reached his ears. You were just a little drained of spiritual energy. With your strength, you'll recover quickly. He opened his eyes, looked in her direction, and asked, Hey, how come you're not affected at all? She was standing there, looking irritated, shaking her hips as if she were dancing on TikTok. She responded, Who said I wasn't affected? Look, my hips almost got bitten off by her. Kim Shin sighed tiredly. Huff. As you can see, that Death King isn't easy to deal with, and the undead swarm she's controlling is the real big problem. He gave her a serious look. The more undead gather, the stronger her power becomes. I can't just risk my life to help you by provoking something as terrifying as that. Unless, of course, you have something valuable to offer in exchange for me taking that risk. Seeing Kim Shin's attitude, Xiao Min'er was left stunned for a moment. Then she carefully pondered the situation. She replied, What you're saying is true, but if you're willing to help me. Suddenly, Xiao Min'er knelt down, which startled him. Her expression was full of sincerity. Then once the task is completed, I promise to become your servant as a way to repay you. Kim Shin, already having his own plan, said, Are you joking with me? Just talking like that, how could I risk my life? She asked again, So what do I need to do to make you believe me? Kim Shin's voice deepened as he extended his hand. Unless you give me your core as a token of trust. At this, Xiao Min'er was taken aback and exclaimed, What? You want me to give you my core? Doesn't that mean I'm handing my life over to you? Kim Shin replied, Whether you give it or not is up to you. The choice is in your hands. Hearing this, her expression grew more serious as she clenched her teeth. There was no other way now. Kim Shin continued to look at her with a firm gaze, unyielding and unchanging. Xiao Min'er reluctantly agreed. Okay, I understand. Giving you the crystal core is like giving you my life. I hope you can keep your promise. She then summoned the crystal core and handed it to Kim Shin. As soon as he saw it, his eyes lit up. With a confident voice, he said, Don't worry. From now on, you're under my protection and I'll help you achieve your goal. She seemed a bit upset, answering with a tone that was almost forceful. I hope so. There's nothing else, so I'm going back now. Kim Shin was dissatisfied and pointed at her. Hey, you're acting like this as a servant? You're already ready to leave without even waiting for me to call you master. But before he could say anything else, Xiao Min-er disappeared without another word, adding to his list of wives who always seemed to be upset. Kim Shin scratched his head, feeling helpless. Forget it. Now that I have her crystal core, I won't waste time arguing with her. Thinking back in his past life, the undead queen had led a terrifying purge across Shangdu. People could only live in her shadow. If he didn't want to live in a world full of corpses, he knew he had to deal with the undead queen. He smiled as he looked at the crystal orb. It seemed like it was time to leave. A while later, Kim Shin's pickup truck sped off, leaving the Shen Guang base behind. From a distance, Myeonju didn't know what to say. Sun Wu asked, "Captain Myeonju, aren't you going with Kim Shin?" She replied, "Why should I go with him? There are still many things at the base that need my attention." Her words were firm, but deep down, she thought to herself, "Asterisk, right now, I'm too weak to help him. But one day, I will catch up to him, asterisk." The scene shifted to another location. At an abandoned rest stop, two sisters were taking shelter from the rain. Hyunju spoke up, "Sis Duanya, even though we're in the apocalypse, isn't it still dangerous to have a fire at a gas station? Is it really okay?" Duanya responded, "If you're worried about a fire, you can always go outside and stand in the rain." Hyunju laughed and replied, "Haha, my body just recovered. I'm not going anywhere." But hearing the thunder, she scooted closer to her sister and asked, "Sis Duanya, where did Kim Shin go? This weather's got me a little scared." Duanya continued, "At the moment, he can't buy a large amount of fuel, so he hasn't been able to stock up much. That's why he's out looking for any remaining gasoline." The food-loving girl Hyoju let out a sigh. "So when is he coming back? I'm so hungry I feel like I'm going to die." Suddenly, from not too far away, the sound of bare footsteps approached. Hearing the noise, both of their faces turned serious as they looked in that direction on alert. "Who's that?" An old man, shaking all over, came walking toward them. "It's so cold, I'm freezing." Hyoju, confused, asked, "Uncle, why is there ice all over you?" The old man didn't answer. Instead, he jumped straight into the fire and screamed, "I'm so cold." As they watched him being consumed by the flames, Duanya shouted, "Is this guy crazy? Why would he just jump into the fire like that?" Hyoju quickly covered her mouth and nose. "The smoke is so thick." Duanya, shocked, widened her eyes and coughed. "This smoke is suspicious. Quick, cover your nose." Suddenly, three figures appeared in the darkness, accompanied by a very lewd laugh. "Hey, this trick of old D's really never fails. And it turns out to be two sweet little girls. If I'd known, I wouldn't have let that old man release the poison." Hyoju shouted loudly, "Who are you people?" The leader glanced at him and said, "Your little sister here has a great figure. When I'm done with her, I'll sell her a New World base. I guarantee she'll be very happy there." The two sisters, weakened by the poison, could barely stand. "Duan, you could only pull out her gun and threaten. Don't come any closer. Don't say I didn't warn you. I'll shoot." He laughed scornfully. "A gun? What use is that toy against abilities like mine?" As he was about to pull the trigger, she suddenly realized her gun had been frozen. The two of them instinctively crawled backward. Hyoju threatened with her mouth, "I suggest you leave now. If my Kim Shin comes back, you'll be in big trouble." He laughed mockingly and replied, "The man who just left. He's already been targeted, and to make things worse, he's been targeted by a crazy woman, so he won't make it through the night." A woman with special abilities appeared, walking with a smile and an air of deadly confidence. She was holding a whip with many sharp blades attached to it, and it seemed like she was planning to torture Kim Shin until he was forced to log out in agony. Her voice echoed, "Hey there, little cutie, I'm here." The strange, powerful girl had been watching her target, Kim Shin, for a while. She called out excitedly, "Oh wow, so you came in alone, huh? Into the sealed space, all by yourself?" The whip cracked down, ready to strike. She pushed open the door and stepped inside. This was a very dangerous move. A look of excitement appeared on her face. "Well, for me, this works out perfectly," she said, using her abilities to release a puff of smoke from her mouth. With one step, she entered the sealed space. As she walked, she laughed with excitement, calling out, "Hey, little hero, where are you? Come out here and play with me." Now the entire area was surrounded by her abilities, turning it into a deadly poison zone. Just inhaling a little bit would ignite an uncontrollable fire inside him, burning him up completely. After a while of hunting, the young man, she excitedly realized, spotted a figure from a distance. "Oh, so you're here? I've been searching everywhere. It was so tiring," she said, clearly relieved. She reached out a hand, inviting him over. "Come here, let me help you detox." But as he got closer, I was stunned, my eyes wide in disbelief. The figure wasn't a person at all, but just a mannequin. I blurted out, "What is this thing?" From behind, Kim Shin's cold voice asked, "Who are you?" Having been led around like a fool, she suddenly snapped, her anger flaring up. Without saying another word, she attacked. You're asking for it, you little brat. But Kim Shin effortlessly caught her strike with just one hand. His palm was unscathed as he grabbed and examined her weapon. Was this something a blacksmith made? In an instant, Kim Shin grabbed her mouth, leaving her too shocked to react. He asked coldly, "Tell me, where is the blacksmith?" The girl, feeling the deadly aura in his gaze, fearfully responded, I don't know what you're talking about. Beside her, Xiao Minor spoke up, "Is the blacksmith really that important?" Kim Shin answered, "The strength of the undead queen's flame is too overwhelming. If we can find the blacksmith, our chances of winning will increase significantly." She then raised her hand, saying, "If that's the case, let me infiltrate her mind and find the answer for you." In an instant, her finger pressed directly into the girl's forehead. The girl's face filled with terror, not understanding what was happening. What are you doing to me?" she stammered. After just a few seconds, Xiao Minor pulled her finger back and spoke. "Got it. The blacksmith is in a place called New World Base, though I'm not sure about the details yet." However, based on the look on her face and the hesitant, dangerous tone in Xiao Minor's voice, the girl immediately dropped to her knees, pleading desperately, "Please don't kill me." Fear had completely overwhelmed her. She told me, "You've already messed with my brain. From now on, if you even think about it, my brain will be torn to pieces." Kim Shin was still confused, not understanding what was going on. He turned to look at Minor, but all he saw was her flustered expression. "What are you staring at?" "I didn't do anything," she said. When that didn't seem to be enough, she lowered herself, not daring to look up. "I can feel something is binding my mind. If you show mercy and spare my life, I'm willing to be your most loyal dog," she pleaded. Kim Shin, feeling it was a good deal, smiled with satisfaction. He spoke up. "Oh, this is interesting." He stood tall, radiating an intense, overwhelming aura, and said, "Then let's see how well you can act like a dog." The girl was so terrified that sweat broke out all over her body. She didn't dare lift her head unless he allowed her to stand. The scene shifted back to the abandoned gas station. At that moment, the two sisters were whispering softly to each other. Ju called out, "Sister Duanya, what's going on? I feel strange, like I'm burning up inside." Duanya replied, "I feel the same." She spoke up with a question. "Is there something else added to the smoke?" The thug looked at them with an expression as if he wanted to take advantage of the two women. He excitedly replied, "Ha ha, of course. It's something that makes people feel good and euphoric." He glanced at his lackeys with a slight grin. "Ha ha. Guys, wait until I'm done having my fun, then it's your turn." Suddenly, both women stood up as if nothing had happened. A look of disgust appeared on their faces. Ju snorted and said, "Sister Duanye was right. It really is that stuff." She said a little smugly, "What's so hard to guess? You're my sister, after all." The thug stared, surprised, and questioned, "Hey, what's going on? Aren't you two supposed to be poisoned?" Ju replied with a tone of disdain, "Sorry, idiots, your poison doesn't work on those with special abilities." At this point, they finally realized the seriousness of the situation. "What? Special abilities? Damn it, you guys get your weapons and kill these two." One of the lackeys pulled out a few guns, which looked more like toy water pistols. 3 of them surrounded the women from 3 sides. Number 1 ready. Number 2 ready. Everyone's in position. Ju quietly assessed the situation. "Oh, is that a water gun?" The bald guy responded, "This is a high-pressure water gun. As long as we have this." The tall guy immediately activated his ability, adding, "With my ice powers, I can attack you from 3 directions." A loud shout rang out, "Tell the guys to open fire." The gun went off. Sharp ice spikes shot toward the target, but the target was the loudest guy from the start. He barely had time to scream, "Ah!" in shock. Wounded by his own teammates' powers, he was confused and demanded, Why? Why are you shooting me? Damn it! Have you all been made stupid by that woman?" All the while, Duanya was using her abilities to control the 2 men, her presence and confidence matching that of her husband, Kim Shin. The guy cursed, "Damn it, these 2 useless fools have already been controlled." Just then, the sound of high heels approached, grabbing his attention. Seeing his teammate arrive, he was both surprised and relieved, calling out loudly, "Lady Dai-Da, this is amazing, you're back." He immediately displayed his loyalty, but it was nothing more than a big joke. "Ha ha, looks like your men are already dead. So, next it will be." But before he could finish his sentence, Dai-Da angrily slapped him, leaving him stunned. He grumbled, clearly upset, "Hey, did you make a mistake, Dai-Da?" Without hesitation, she released an ominous energy, her voice laced with a deadly tone. "Shut your filthy mouth." He winced, his face swelling from the slap, and trembled, too scared to say another word. Suddenly, Dai-Da turned her back as if preparing for something. As the figure of a person approached, she lowered herself respectfully. her body bending in a graceful bow. She called out twice, "Master, this person just insulted you. How should we deal with him, master?" Kim Shin was very pleased with her attitude. He saw her kneeling, gazing up as he gently patted her head. He complimented her. "Such a good dog. Handle this one. I don't want to get my hands dirty with this trash." At this moment, the scene shifted to a forest. The young men who had tried to bully Duan Ye and Hyo-ju earlier were now being made to do manual labor. Otherwise, they'd risk getting shocked. The woman, Gaidok, spoke up. "Hurry up and move all these gas cans outside. I want to give them to the boss." A little while later, angry and dissatisfied voices could be heard as they threw the cans down. The shaved head guy said, "Boss, Gaidok is now working as someone else's dog, but we can't let her do this." Though the boss was exhausted, after hearing his subordinate, he agreed and replied, "You're right." He immediately ran over, shouting, "Gaidok, this is the gasoline we worked so hard to find. How can you just give it to that guy?" As soon as Gaidok heard the dissatisfaction with her new master, she panicked. She swung her whip and yelled, "Do you want to die?" With one strike, she nearly sent the guy into oblivion. His eyes rolled back, and both of his subordinates were also caught up in the chaos. Witnessing this brutal scene, Duan Ye and Hyo-ju were left stunned. They hadn't expected her to be even harsher than the electric shock guys back in Cambodia. Kim Shin spoke up. "First, don't kill them yet. We might still have use for them." Even after being struck, they still cursed angrily. "Dan, you white-faced bastard. No matter what you did to Gaidok, I'm from New World Base. If you let us go now, I'll pretend today never happened." Kim Shin walked over, releasing his power, his gaze filled with danger. He replied, "Sorry, I don't make a habit of leaving loose ends." Then that deadly figure pointed again, like he was injecting venom straight into their minds, making them thrash around like rabid dogs. Kim Shin watched their pain, his face still expressionless, only giving a slight grunt. The one who had shouted the loudest earlier opened his mouth, eyes wide as if their heads had exploded like balloons. Gaidok, though ruthless, was now terrified by the sight, beads of sweat dripping down her face. The brain, did it really just explode? Kim Shin thought, surprised it actually happened like that. Earlier, Xiao Min'er had seen a monstrous parasite connected to Gaidok's brain, calling it a brainworm. But the parasite in Gaidok's brain was already dead. Xiao Min'er quickly responded, "It's probably because of the poison in Gaidok's body that makes her immune to this kind of brainworm." Kim Shin felt that these brain worms were truly dangerous to everyone around them. Just now, when he killed 3 brain worms inside those 3 people, they all died along with them. It seems like someone is trying to use these brain worms to control everyone in the New World Base. We need to find a way to make Duan Ye and Hyo-ju immune to these brain worms. He called out to Gaidok. She immediately knelt down and responded loudly, "Master, please give your orders." He took out a car from his space and asked, "Do you know how to drive?" She was stunned by the sight, but quickly replied, "Yes, I do." Kim Shin said, "Good, then you drive." She let out a small cry of surprise, unsure where the car had come from, but she didn't dare to ask any questions. She simply obeyed the command and started driving. As she sat in the car, she reflected on her past. "I am Gaidok. Not long ago, I was the small leader of the New World Base. Now I've been forced to become someone else's puppet. But as long as I can survive, I'll do whatever it takes, even if it means eating bark or rats. I'll do anything." But she was so upset she almost cried when she saw the 3 people behind Kim Shin having a lively party, eating and drinking happily. She asked, are they seriously eating hot pot in front of everyone like this? But this is the apocalypse. Where would they even get hot pot from? The broth would have gone bad a long time ago. Damn it, I can already smell it from here. Her eyes were filled with longing. I really want hot pot. I have to. But I'm struggling with my thoughts. Calm down, calm down. I can't risk my life just for food. At that moment, she heard the sound of a can being opened. Gaidok's ears perked up. That sound was, she opened her mouth in shock. Coca? They even have Coca-Cola? Suddenly, a hand reached out with a can of soda in front of her. Hyo-ju happily greeted her. It's been a while since you had Coca, hasn't it? She immediately asked with suspicion, for me. Yeah, is that for real? She thought to herself, suddenly being so nice to me, what does she want? Hyo-ju just replied, don't worry, Kim Shin loves it when women call him master. Go ahead, drink it. Gaidok was surprised. Huh, really? Behind her, Kim Shin looked helpless as he was being talked about. This Hyo-ju dared to gossip about him. Duan Ye, standing next to her, just covered her mouth and chuckled. Hyo-ju continued. By the way, my name's Hyo-ju. From now on, we're teammates. Gaidok awkwardly replied, hi. She thought, teammates? Is she implying that I'm being forced into this like she is? But then again, in this apocalypse, it's normal for women to rely on men. Besides, no woman could ever say no to hot pot and soda. It's just too bad. This sugar-coated bullet won't do anything to me. Sooner or later, I'll definitely. Suddenly, a voice interrupted. Leia meets here. Open your mouth. Guy Doc, so hungry she was about to pass out, caught the smell of meat and felt an overwhelming wave of happiness. She opened her mouth wide and shouted, eh. Hiroju remarked, wow, you're still breathing out poison? Is that your power? Guy Doc felt the piece of meat and excitedly responded, yep, my poison can make men work themselves to death, and for women, it sparks intense desire. But for people with abilities, the effect is weaker. Kim Shin, hearing this, thought to himself, I've got an idea. If we use Guy Doc's power, maybe we can help Duanya and Hyoju become immune to the brainworms. Suddenly, Hyoju trembled, clearly worked up, and called out, Kim Shin, I'm so hot right now, can you help me? Guy Doc panicked and protested, oh, wait, I didn't mean to do that. Kim Shin calmly replied, just focus on driving. As the two of them prepared to cool down, Duanya, seeing the situation, stood up and said, looks like I'll have to give up my seat for them. Oh, by the way, you tell me about the New World base, she asked. Guy Doc quickly responded, will I get something to eat after? I'm starving to death here. Duanya replied, of course. Go ahead. What do you want to know? How did you join New World base? Guy Doc started chatting, saying, I entered a beauty contest. At that moment, looking up from below, the towering building appeared somewhat rundown. Is this New World base? Guy Doc answered them, yes, it is. New World base isn't very big, but it's a money-making hub in the apocalypse. This place has an auction house, slaves, black markets, beauty contests, arenas, and a lot more. Hyoju sighed, gazing up at the height. It was really tall. She then asked curiously, why are there so many people standing in front of the door? What are they doing? Guy Doc explained they're all empty-eyed people. New World base is like a beacon to them in the apocalypse. Everyone wants to join, but the requirements to get in are strict. So many of them can't make it. Kim Shin, tired of all the explanations, spoke up, let's go. Let's check it out. At that moment, a hand-raised ID card. A short, old man shouted, there's only one way left to join New World base. Having this card means you'll be safe from danger and hunger. But to get the ID card, you first have to go through a trial and prove that you deserve it. The old man pointed to the other side where the challenge registration desk was. The group of people started talking amongst themselves. A trial, huh? Looks like there aren't any resettlement areas that need people after all, even at New World base. The old man shouted loudly, there's a limited number of spots, first come, first served. Upon hearing this, the crowd started getting chaotic. What? There's a limit? I want to sign up. I wanted to. Don't steal my spot. Are these people crazy? Damn it, I want to join too. Wait, why can't women participate? Guy Doc spoke up. Master, this ID card is managed by the mayor's personal guard. This is beyond my control. It seems you'll need to join a trial first. Hyoju complained. This is such a hassle. Why don't we just rush in and find a blacksmith instead? Guy Doc responded. That would be too dangerous. The mayor's personal guard are all capable of using special powers. Duanya spoke up. According to Guy Doc's description, this blacksmith must be someone who's quiet and careful. If he knows we're about to attack him, he might just kill him right away. Kim Shin immediately began to walk and said, that's why for now, we should remain a bit more cautious. I'll check out this trial first to see what it's about, and Guy Doc will be in charge of guiding the two of you in from a different entrance. Guy Doc responded loudly, understood, master. Suddenly, one of the men pointed at Kim Shin and said, hey, new guy, with you joining, we've just about formed the last team. The trial is about to start. Lately, more and more mutated spiders have been gathering on the mountain behind us. This trial will focus on hunting those spiders, but I'd advise you to only hunt the ones on the outskirts. Don't go too deep into the mountain. Anyone who brings back 5 spider carcasses or a spider egg before nightfall will pass the trial. One guy yelled out, questioning, wait, 5 mutated spiders? Even catching one is hard enough, and spider eggs are in the spider nests. Are you asking us to sign up for a one-way trip to the coffin room? The guy taunted, if you can't get the addiction proof, then bring the spider corpse back here. If you don't want to do that, you can also cross this metal fence. But anyone who goes alone will become a target for these mutated spiders. Good luck. The other guy, loud-mouthed, swung his machete and yelled, hey kid, the other teams have already set off. Why are you following behind us? Kim Shin smirked. Are you trying to make me do your dirty work? He then coldly walked away, replying, no need, I'll be fine on my own. There's a spider nest in the mountains. Let's see about that. The others spat and sneered. Tuft, what an ungrateful jerk. Boss, should we just take care of that arrogant brat now? The leader laughed wickedly and said, leave him be. Guys like him will die out there sooner or later. We'll just stand here and wait for the other teams to come back, then we can steal their prey. A little while later, deep in the forest, Kim Shin called out softly, "Little spider, where are you? Come out, come out." As soon as he called, a whole bunch appeared from all directions. Kim Shin said, "There's a lot of them, huh? I wonder if any of them have mutated powers. But looking at how ugly they are, it seems unlikely. Are you looking for the queen spider? Kim Shin." He just cracked his wrist and got ready to see how many cores he could collect. In an instant, he disappeared. With one move, he crushed the head of a mutated spider. In no time, Kim Shin easily grabbed the head. Then he shot off like a rocket, sweeping through the area and even attacking the mutated spider's lair. After a moment, he sighed, not even one. He was really disappointed. But from behind, a huge spider with 8 eyes, bright as cameras, stared directly at him. Meanwhile, on the other side, the women were busy with something else. A loud voice called out, "Come join the post-apocalyptic Rose Beauty Pageant. The top 3 winners will receive lifetime free identification cards." Hyoju, curious, asked, "A beauty contest?" Not far away, a vendor was advertising. "This is the 7th place runner-up from last week's beauty pageant. All it takes is 3 packs of instant noodles, and tonight she'll be yours." Some people immediately started bidding, 4 packs, 5 packs. Gaidoc spoke up, "If you can't make it into the top 3 and still want to stay at New World Base, the only option is to become a tool to exploit men. But for top beauties like you two, there shouldn't be any issues." The 3 of them walked in. Hyoju said, "It's really pathetic, poor girl." Duanya asked, "Do they have a beauty contest here every week?" Gaidoc replied, "Yes, that's right. First, the weekly winner competes for the monthly champion. There are also some women who don't want to go down that path, so they end up in the arena. In any case, there are a few narrow paths here that let you make the most of your value. For most women, being able to get food safely without taking risks is 100 times better than going outside. Quick, change clothes. I'll wait for you two outside." "Just close the door," Gaidoc sighed. "You will only have a life like heaven because you follow your master." Suddenly, a voice called out, "Gaidoc, you brought 2 girls this time. I saw them outside. Bring them into my room right away." Hearing that sleazy voice, Gaidoc simply replied, "Guard of the city lord Du Yan." The man smugly said, "I need to taste them a little. If they serve me well, I'll give them 2 ID cards." Gaidoc hesitated and said, "Ah," but he clasped his hands behind his back and arrogantly responded, "No buts. If I say it, it's done." "That's right. Poisoning them like this is what makes it fun." She cursed inwardly. "Damn it. If I offend him, I won't be able to get the ID cards." With no other choice, Gaidoc quietly opened the door and stepped inside. She immediately began releasing poison from her mouth. The air of the room made Duanya and Hyoju feel a strange tingling all over their bodies. The 2 sisters couldn't stand it any longer and clung to each other, questioning, "Why? Why are you poisoning us?" By now, their bodies were burning with heat. They moaned, "Gaidoc, why are you doing this to us? This is really strange." Gaidoc didn't completely mean to set those 2 up for the others. She replied, "Sorry, but right now, this is all I can do. Please be patient for a little while longer." But as time passed, both their bodies reacted more intensely to the point where they had to lean on each other, trembling, unable to stand on their own. They could only hear each other's desperate pleas. "Sister Duanya, Hyoju, don't, please." On the other side, the sound of clinking wine glasses filled the air. The 2 guys were laughing wickedly. The one with the sharp face spoke up as expected. The boss is always quick to take action. What's important is, whenever there's a beautiful woman, he never shares with me. The other one, with a devious smile, replied, "Who said we're real brothers? Besides, a woman this stunning looking like this, it's rare to see. Maybe 1 in a million." The first one added, "Just thinking about it gets me excited. Why haven't those 2 girls shown up yet?" "Don't rush. Gaidoc still needs to drug them." The door to the room swung open. 2 stunning women walked in, looking like they had just stepped off a runway. When the older man saw the beauties he had specifically chosen, he grinned with a mix of satisfaction and depravity. From the look on his face, it was clear the poison had taken full effect. He couldn't wait for the next great moment when he confidently enjoyed both of them. The younger man spoke up. "They're both top tier, just like you said. Every curve is so perfect, it makes my mouth water. Boss, you picked first. You deserve it." The older man scanned them both, then decided on Duanya. "I'll take this one, the long-haired beauty." He raised a metal hook near her chin. "Because this is exactly the type of girl I love." Meanwhile, the younger man saw Hyoju wrap herself around him and, clearly pleased, said, "Boss, this is the first time I've ever had one of these top-tier girls come on to me like this." The older man responded, "Of course, it's all thanks to Gaidoc. Once this is done, she'll get her reward." The 2 men exchanged a look, their eyes shining like car headlights before they both laughed. All right then, let's dig in. It seemed like those two were so happy, they were almost giddy, hugging and kissing each other with little sounds of affection. A moment in the spring night worth a fortune. Then in the room, sounds of intimacy followed, but something felt off. At that moment, the three of them, Duanya, Hyunju, and Gaidok, appeared from behind. The scene was completely different from earlier when the two clueless guys had been happily enjoying each other. It was all because of Duanya's psychic ability controlling their minds. She said, "These two beasts are easier to control than I thought." Gaidok spoke up, "Your power is really brutal. Seriously, when will you let these two guys just do their thing with each other?" Hyoju, still affected by the lingering sensations, questioned, "Did you poison us just for these two? We're still stuck dealing with this feeling." Gaidok, looking wronged, explained, "Of course not. My master said my poison can resist deep brain manipulation. I was worried that if you two came into contact with the City Lord's guards, you might get brainwashed." Duanya, her hands instinctively touching her own body, seemed to realize her actions. She had done the right thing. To prevent the brainwashing from taking over, we had to maintain this state while we were at New World Base. But can your older sister handle it? Hyoju was about to deal with it herself when she replied, "Huh? But that would be really tough. Then we have to quickly go get the ID card." Gaidok asked, "What about them?" The two of them struggled to leave. Duanya replied, "They'll handle it themselves. If you want, you can stay and watch." Gaidok looked at them and felt disgusted, wanting to just leave. When sounds of intimacy filled the air, "Oh baby, you're so strong." She couldn't take it anymore and left, shouting loudly, "Wait for me. Forget about those two enjoying themselves." The scene shifted to a forest clearing. The Apocalypse Light Tower. It's just a trick to fool people. "We came here for the Spider King's core crystal. But where's the nest?" Some of the subordinates behind spoke up. "Boss, did you get lost?" He said, "North is up, south is down, and then what else?" Suddenly they were all surprised. "Ha, why are there so many bodies? And why does every one of them have no head?" The group of younger guys immediately said something with a grin. "Boss, looks like someone got ahead of us." Over there, the sounds of fighting continued. Kim Shin was personally taking down the grass monsters. Every attack was easily avoided by him. Suddenly, a thread shot out from the peach and wrapped tightly around his hand, catching him off guard. Kim Shin frowned slightly and yanked his hand back. He had let his guard down. From above, a huge spider monster appeared. He muttered, "Didn't expect there to be a huge spider hiding here." It seemed like it was about to level up to Tier 2. Whether it was Tier 2 or 3, Kim Shin would still take care of it. On the other side, a few guys were hiding, watching closely. "Who's that guy? He's going in alone to take on a spider nest." One of them responded, "Boss, that guy doesn't look weak. What should we do?" He laughed wickedly and said, "What should we do? Of course we watch the show. A guy who doesn't know his own limits? I can't wait to see his body hanging from the spiderwebs." At that moment, Kim Shin's face was completely serious. He easily pulled away the spiderweb stuck to his hand. His bare face showed an intense killing aura, and with one swift motion, he yanked it back. This move left the Spider King utterly terrified. Kim Shin effortlessly knocked it down to the ground. He jumped high, and with a single punch, he sent the Spider King's head flying in an instant. Seeing such extraordinary strength, everyone around him was shocked and panicked, shouting, "Is he Saitama's successor? One punch and he kills the Spider King?" The underlings quickly pulled out their weapons, sensing the change of the situation and preparing to grab the core. But then something felt off. As the leader was faced with his closest subordinates who held their knives to his throat with sinister expressions, they said, "We're ready, boss." The leader wasn't scared at all. In fact, he burst out laughing. "Ha ha, very good, very good. The blade is incredibly sharp. Ha, guys, you didn't waste your time following me. You're getting pretty skilled." His two subordinates replied, "Boss, we've used this trick so many times already. How could we not be good at it? It's guaranteed to work every time." He glanced at Kim Shin, "You little brat. Just wait. I'll show you how powerful I am." Meanwhile, Kim Shin still had no idea that several people were quietly plotting against him. "Oh, heart, all right. The crystal core is right here." The boss immediately shouted the incantation for his shape-shifting and teleportation power. Over there, Kim Shin was still lost in his thoughts, staring at the stone, unaware of any unusual movements. In just a few seconds, Kim Shin was suddenly stunned as he felt the surroundings shifting around him. In an instant, two blades were pressed to his neck, and he hadn't noticed until now. The boss had swapped places with Kim Shin, and now two more people were working on tying him up. Holding the crystal core in his hand, the boss grinned with satisfaction. "Ha, finally got it. With the core in my hands, it's a big win." Kim Shin spoke up, swapping positions, "Huh? That power's pretty rare. You even thought to tie me up beforehand. Looks like you've used this trick to trap people a lot, haven't you? He laughed mockingly. Ha ha, you useless piece of trash. You're quite the talker, huh? Don't even know how to write the word death. Kim Shin calmly responded, useless, you say? So you think of yourself as a hunter? Well, even experienced hunters can sometimes be killed by their prey. Hearing the threat in his words, the man immediately ordered his subordinates. Oh, let's see how you're going to kill me, talking big like that. Kill him. The subordinates raised their blades high, shouting, You're trying to kill us? You should just die. Then the clumsy boys swung their swords down with full force, but that didn't quite go as planned, as their weapons snapped in half before they could even touch Kim Shin. The entire group froze, wide-eyed, shocked, and terrified. All the swords had broken. They stared at their broken blades in disbelief, wondering if they were awake or still dreaming. They looked from Kim Shin's head to his feet, wondering, who the hell is this guy? What kind of person is he? A few minutes ago, the boss was still acting all tough, but now he was sweating nervously, muttering, his skin's as tough as steel. Could he really be a level 2? He's a level 2. The boss shouted, rushing to explain. The lackeys were also terrified when they heard this. What? He's a level 2. One of them asked. The boss was sure of it. There's no doubt. Its skin is as tough as a level 2 beast hide. While he's still tied up, we shoaled. Before he could finish, a loud noise rang out. The chains snapped apart in pieces. The boss screamed in panic, This is bad. The chains are broken. Get out of here, hurry, scatter, and run. Damn it. How could someone level up this fast? One by one, they all scrambled to escape. Meanwhile, Kim Shin smiled a dangerous, malicious smile. He ripped off the remaining chains and began his hunt for them. His eyes glowed with a fierce hunger, like he had already locked onto his prey. Trying to run. Not so fast, he sneered. A deadly aura poured out from him, enough to swallow the entire forest. Over there, the boss was using every ounce of his strength to run, still shouting loudly, What's so special about level 2? Once I collect a few spirit crystals, I'll level up to level 2 too, no doubt about it. But his face quickly twisted in pain, sweat streaming down as he felt something right behind him. Kim Shin's gaze was deadly, like a hunter coming for his prey. He shouted fiercely, Give me back the spirit crystal. As the punch was about to land on his face, he knew that if it hit, it would be the end of him. Quick-witted, he yelled, shape-shifting and teleportation. On the other side, one of his underlings who had run far away suddenly appeared here, leaving the younger guy confused. Meanwhile, the boss managed to escape, but collapsed to the ground. He cursed, Damn, I almost got done for. Luckily, I've got a special ability that saved my life. I'll remember this grudge. One way or another, I'm going to kill you. Back on the other side, blood started dripping onto the ground. The young underling's face was twisted in agony, eyes wide, mouth open, shaking all over. The next moment, the man pulled out his hand, and the unlucky young guy had a large hole in his chest, officially dead. The reason, however, remained unclear. Kim Shin said, Are you going to use your friend as a decoy to die in your place? He then laughed wickedly. If that's the case, all I need to do is find you, and that'll be it, right? His eyes gleamed like car headlights, his psychic ability sensing everything around him. Suddenly, 4 figures appeared, each running off in different directions. His eyes were like a radar, tracking your movements. Meanwhile, the leader was still struggling to escape the Grim Reaper's scythe. He was panting heavily, so tired that his breath was ragged, but he couldn't afford to stop, not even for a second. Kim Shin charged forward like a beast, saying, As long as I chase you, I can find all your people. The leader's eyes widened in horror when he saw Kim Shin still after him and shouted, No way. His eyes bulged as he saw the protagonist's sharp, piercing gaze closing in. Again? Damn it. How is he so fast? How can he find me like this? The young man quickly muttered a chant, abracadabra, shape-shifting, and teleportation. And just like that, out of nowhere, the bald young man was summoned to the spot where the leader was, specifically to the place where he would die in his stead. The boss, on the other hand, managed to save his own skin once again, making sure the guys who always called him bro took the fall for him. He was so out of breath that he cursed, Damn it, how did he find me? I need to get out of here right now. But then he froze for a moment, realizing something. But where should I run to? He glanced left, then right, not knowing which way to go. Whether he lived or died depended on what he did next. But the young man quickly made a decision that would take him straight to the ground. Whatever, I'll just pick a direction and run as fast as I can. I'll definitely find a way out. Meanwhile, Kim Shin had just taken down one of the henchmen, another painful and tragic end for the unlucky guy who had crossed paths with him. Kim Shin grunted lightly. The second replacement had died, this time a bit quicker. He then quietly activated his night vision mode, scanning the dark surroundings for enemies and muttered, If he manages to escape, that'll be a problem. Suddenly, his expression softened as he looked at his girlfriends with a bit of surprise, letting out an "oh" when he spotted a familiar figure running towards him. No need to even search. The guy who was running still managed to mutter a few curse words, like he wanted to call out Kim Shin's ancestors. "Damn it, are you serious? That demon always attacked from behind, so this time I'll watch my back to see how you plan to sneak up on me. Wait until I get stronger." But before I could get cocky, both of them suddenly felt something was off and quickly glanced ahead. Their eyes went wide with fear, like they were about to pop out of their sockets. The guy, running at 300 kilometers/a, had to use every bit of strength to slam on the brakes. His face showed pure panic when he saw what was in front of him. How did you find me?" With a slight smile, but behind it was a deadly aura, Kim Shin replied, "To be honest, you might not believe it, but this time, you're the one who found me." Facing Kim Shin, the guy's face turned pale, drained of all color, his body shaking as he asked again. Was he really walking into his own trap? He refused to accept that he might die here. Another curse escaped his lips, and he prepared to run. He might not be able to fight back, but at least he cursed first to gain an advantage. "Get out of my face. Even if that's true, you still won't be able to kill me." Shape-shifting. But the spell wasn't finished. All Kim Shin did was give a light like and subscribe to the admin's channel, and that was enough to make the young man disappear, literally. Kim Shin casually waved his hand a few times to shake off the action, then said just one thing. Too slow. The scene shifted to another location. Wang Jun crawled out of a backpack, mewing a few times. A voice rang out. "This is the backstage of the beauty pageant." This was indeed the backstage of the pageant. Gaidok led the group, lifted the curtain, and said, "Come in, both of you." At that moment, the three of them stopped in surprise, letting out a collective "oh." It wasn't just the three of them. There were many other women standing there waiting, but from their expressions, it seemed they weren't exactly friendly. Gaidok couldn't help but blurt out his thoughts. "Well, lucky for you. With all these other people around, you too don't even need to compete to win." Hyoju added, "Why do I feel like the looks they're giving us aren't very friendly?" Duenya spoke up, offering a word of caution. "Either way, it's better to be careful." As the three kids chatted behind her back, an older girl stepped forward with a challenging tone. "Hey, you there. Stop right there." Gaidok shouted, "What do you want from us?" Suddenly, a voice rang out from afar, nothing at all. The sound of high heels echoed on the ground. A woman appeared, beautiful and striking, her presence commanding everyone's attention. She called out boldly, "I just wanted to see who had the nerve to stir up trouble here." Hyoju was so surprised that she instantly recognized the face. It was none other than the big star Mai Rim-nag. Mai Rim-nag didn't care whether anyone recognized her or not. With an air of arrogance, she continued, "No one here has the talent to compete with me in this contest, so you better back off. Otherwise," a cold, tense voice came from Duanya. "I thought someone as loud as you must be important. Turns out you're the big star, famous mostly for your connection with the director." Hearing someone speak ill of her, Mai Rim-ni was taken aback, then responded bitterly, "Isn't this my dear old friend?" She suddenly shouted loudly, "Duanya!" In a flash, she zoomed past Gaidok and Hyoju with incredible speed. Her slender, pale legs shot up into the air, and in an instant, she attacked Duanya. But Duanya seemed like she was still in a daze. However, who could be ordinary when you're Kim Shin's wife? Duanya simply leaned to one side, easily dodging the attack. Mai Rim-ni didn't give up. She spun around and continued to kick. Duanya, moving with the flow, parried the kick. The sound of their shoes clashing, the sharp clicks of high heels hitting the floor, as the two close friends stubbornly refused to back down. Mai Rim-ni said, "I can't believe it, you're still not dead." Duanya answered darkly, "Sorry to disappoint you." Hyoju, confused and curious, asked, "Sister Duanya, do you two know each other?" Gaidok innocently added, "Aren't they best friends?" Duanya raised her voice. "Have you ever seen a best friend put hair removal cream in someone's shampoo, laxatives in their water, and dead rats in their wardrobe?" Mai Rim-ni shot back, "You're the one who always acts so noble, but really just wants to be the center of attention. You clearly know my dream is to be an actress, but you still try to compete with me for the lead role." Duanya calmly responded, "I'm just here to accompany you to the audition, not to pursue a career in acting." Mai Rim-ni, clearly upset, retorted, "Oh, and didn't you end up with that director afterward? This is all your fault, you seductress. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have had to deal with that old man." Sister and I couldn't resist teasing her once more. "Ha ha, so now being beautiful is my fault too?" Hyoju, observing the exchange, whispered, "This is the first time I've ever seen Duanya so unfazed." Mai Rim-ni snapped back, "You still think you're right? Well, I'm a famous star now known by everyone. What man wouldn't fall for me?" Duanya quickly responded, but now the world is falling apart. Who even remembers you anymore? My Rene smirked and provocatively said, is that so? Well, let's see who's more irresistible, shall we? But Na isn't scared at all. She's just looking for a little confrontation, you can tell. You can already tell who the real champion is. At this moment, the voice of the young host rang out loudly. Ladies and gentlemen, I know we've kept you waiting. The new world-based beauty contest is about to begin. The cheers of the crowd echoed. Wow, it's starting. After the apocalypse, is this really the life we're aiming for? We've all been working hard for the city lord. Isn't this the moment we've been waiting for? I haven't eaten or drunk anything for a month just so I can bring a woman home today. The host added, also, the winner today will be personally welcomed by the city lord himself. Upon hearing this, everyone turned their gaze toward the large window, now glowing red with surprise. What? The city lord is coming too. Beside them, Yuan Ye said, so that's why every woman wants to become the champion, to meet the city lord. Hyoju replied, if we could get the city lord to help us find a blacksmith, it'll be done in no time. Duanya said, that's why she absolutely cannot win the championship. Hyoju forced a smile and said, I still need to go ask Kim Shin to help me with the poison. I feel so awful. Meanwhile, my Rimne shot a venomous glance and sneered, Humph, this competition from the host to the judges, I've already bribed them all. You think you can compete with me? But just to be safe, if any of you try to escape, there will be plenty of trouble waiting for you. Next, the panel of judges for today spoke up. The man sitting in the middle asked, why aren't you two sitting down? The two young men, brothers with pointed faces, replied, we don't know why. After we woke up, our butts hurt so much that we can't sit down. Yeah, if Mok On-so hadn't woken us up, we would have missed the competition. The man named Mok On-so just smiled and said, it's the least I could do. He thought to himself, before, I only knew these two brothers were pretty wild. When I found them, they were both completely naked and fighting with swords. If their butts aren't sore now, that'd be strange. Looks like I've stumbled upon a pretty shocking secret, and I really hope I won't be silenced over it. MC shouted, let's see who will win the championship and earn the chance to step into the upper echelons of this new world. Come on out. With a roar of the crowd, the three Kim Shin sisters, determined to win, stepped onto the stage. Let's go. Of course, the three of you are here for something else, not this silly title. At that moment, my Rimnese group pulled out weapons and attacked all at once. Idiots! Do you really think this is a fair competition? First, take out these three women. Duanya quietly said, this is exactly what I expected. The other group continued laughing. Ha ha! This is the world we live in. Whoever's fist is stronger. They make the rules. Hyeju snorted, leave these pests to me. They were provoked and immediately turned to attack her. You're asking for death. Hyeju just smirked. Well, let's see whose fist is bigger. Suddenly, Hyeju transformed, her face turning bright red. She threw a powerful uppercut, sending the heavyset woman crashing into the ceiling. The minions gasped in shock, screaming, what? She can get that big? Hyeju slightly bent down, her face turning dangerously serious. Now it's your turn to fly up to the sky. Outside, graceful footsteps mixed with the sounds of cheers echoing. Ah, it's actually the big star Myra Me. Just with her sharp glare, the judges gave her 3 nines. This is the first time I've seen a female star since the end of the world, the champion. The champion was praised. My Rimni arrogantly thought to herself, Duanya, do you think I'd look down on you? Everything is just the way it is. At that moment, an announcement sounded introducing the next person. This made my Rimni's expression change, her eyes filled with shock. What? What's going on? Behind her, a figure slowly walked forward. Above the sky, a loud crash echoed, accompanied by sharp gazes that were like fireworks, but even stranger. Oh my god, something just exploded up there. Below, Duanya stood, dressed in an incredibly stunning outfit, with white wings that made her look like an angel descending from the heavens. The crowd gasped, wow, she's even more beautiful than I imagined. My Rivne was even more horrified. What was that in the sky? Her mouth hung open as she realized that what she thought were fireworks were actually pieces of blood and body parts from her subordinates. They fell right next to her, creating a gruesome scene. Terrified, her face turned pale, and she could barely speak. Are those the limbs of those people? What exactly happened? She gasped. The judges spoke up. The competition backstage was indeed brutal. Unfortunately, it seemed that all the women had been wiped out. Then who's going to win now? Hyoju asked. Is it okay to show up now? Gaidok replied, those people were punched up into the sky. You're being way too ruthless. On my Remy's side, she muttered, Duanya, you're forcing me to do this. She reached into her clothes as if to do something. Then, with one swift motion, she tore off all of her clothes, leaving nothing to cover herself as she stood there exposed for everyone to see. The men below couldn't help but stare, some even having nosebleeds. She seemed almost mad, laughing loudly. 10 points? I'm the winner, haha! Douanier immediately stormed off, leaving only one thing behind. This woman is really out of her mind. From the upper floor, the old city lord gave an order, bring the ID card down. The white rabbit girl replied, got it. She grabbed the ID card and headed downstairs. Mok Onso said, wow, the city lord gave the ID card so quickly. The white rabbit girl spoke up, this ID card was issued by the city lord. There are 3 of them. The other 3 are still up on the platform. Myrani asked, does that mean I can meet the city lord now? Kyoju rushed over and shouted, hey, don't forget about me, we'll have one for each of us. Up there, the old man pointed in a direction. Mok Un so understood immediately. The city lord has issued the order. You've defeated my Rivni. Congratulations. Not only can you enter the new world, but the city lord has also chosen you to live on the top floor. The white rabbit girl was stunned and asked, does this mean I can finally go to the top floor and become someone of everyone else? The rabbit woman responded, please go this way. Then she asked a strange question. Does she like fish? My Rivni was confused, not understanding. Hyunju spoke up, what? Sister Douania lost? We don't get to meet the city lord. She replied, well, the ID card is in hand. We'll figure out the rest later. A moment later, they entered. The rabbit woman spoke again. City lord, Miss Rivnai is ready. The old man of the New World City, his name is Sang Maya. Youth is truly wonderful. It's just a shame that I've grown old and lost those desires long ago. For an old man like me, it's all so dull. I'm incredibly bored, only wanting to grow flowers and keep fish. As he spoke, the old man's face twisted into a dangerous grin. At that moment, in front of him, my Rimnai had been transformed into a mermaid. No, actually, it was more accurate to say a sea monster.